All right, thank you for that warm welcome. Welcome to today's exciting episode of Bob the Sign Man. Today I'm going to show you how to create a sign using a PDF file. So, a lot of times we don't always have the sign, or I don't always have the sign that I need to in my software to make. So I'll show you how to make one if you can't find the sign you want. So what I'll do is I'm going to bring this over. Today I have to make a, excuse me, I have to make a post office sign. And here's what it looks like. So in order to make this sign, I have to create the borders and all that and put in the lettering. I have the arrow I can put in, but I have no idea how I'm going to make that envelope. It'd probably take me hours to figure out how to make that. So what I'm going to do is show you an easier way to make that. What I'll do, and I don't understand Caltrans sometimes, the arrow that they use is rounded and it says see standard highway specifications for their type of arrow that they use. And that's their arrow. See how it's pointed? So that arrow, let me find that again. So that arrow isn't going to really do me much good, but I'll show you anyways how this thing works. So I use this little program, and it's called, right here, Primo Pdf. I think I've showed a video on how I've done this before, but that was in the old days when I just used to shoot my camera onto the desktop and it wasn't very good quality. So now I have a program, it's OBS Studio, and it'll record your desktop. Anyways, I use this Primo PDF, and you can find it at primopdf.com, and I download just the free version. They have some others you can do, the Nitro, that Pro, that does you all these bells and whistles, and I just want the basic, so I just use it. So what I'm going to do is go to it, and I want to print this with my PDF. So what I'll do is I'll just, you can see the little cursor, it turned it into a little hand there. You can go up to File, or you can just right click it. I'm just going to right click it and go Print. And now it's going to bring me up these options, and you can see the little legend that it's going to print. Go ahead and print that out because you'll want to save it for later. You can use it, reference anything you have to for different kinds of signs. So right now what I'm going to do is go up and I'm going to select Primo PDF. And I'm going to click print, and what it's going to do, it's going to, here's a little advertising I was talking about, which doesn't bother me. So right here at the bottom here, I want to create a PDF. Make sure that you have your settings set up as ask when creating a PDF, what you want to save it as. And the so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click the create PDF, and it's going to start up. Take a little second to get all the things that pop up. There we go. And I'm going to save it on the desktop, and see, it's going to save it as the SG60, so I'll just click save. And now it'll pop this up, and go ahead and print this out, and you can put it in your book, save it for future references. Because this particular sign is only one size, but some of them might have different sizes, and you might have to use different fonts or whatever to redo it. So anyways, so now what I'm going to do, that's already been saved to my desktop. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up my Omega5 software that I use. I'm going to get rid of that one. Okay, so this is what I use. It's Composer. It's Omega5 software. The person that showed me how to use this uses Flexi, so I know it works on Flexi. And I'm not familiar with the other programs. I know they have Illustrator and other stuff, so I'm just going to show you on this program that I have here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring over that, put it here on my desktop so you can see that little icon that it'll save. It's the SG60. It saved it in a PDF file. You have to have a nice clean PDF. Some of the specs that Caltrans uses, see if I can find one here, they're not very clear. They're let's see, California Welcome Center. Yes, oh, that one would actually work pretty good. But some of the ones that they have aren't very clear to read. Here we go. I don't think this one's going to be a. See that where they look like they're just drawing. This is better, more for reference and stuff. But this wouldn't work here because it's not a nice, clean PDF. So you need a nice PDF like this right here. Okay. And what I like about the Caltrans website is, let me go up to the home. It gives you, it has a sign specification, it has updates, coded specs, and you can go to the Federal Highway Administration, and you can get all the, let's see, go here, and then you got to go down to the PDF and ESP files, and you can pull up all their regulatory warning guide signs. These are all federal highway signs, but we use the California signs. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this PDF over. See how it's right here? Let's just pull it over onto the top of my screen, and it's going to go ahead and print everything on the screen for me. Just click OK, and there's my sign right there. So what I want to do is I just want to pick out the stuff that I need. So I need the envelope, the arrow, and all of this post office. So I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to bring it over here, and I'm going to paste it. So there's everything I need right there. This, I'll just highlight all of this stuff, and I'm just going to delete that. So you think, oh, right, we're ready to go. Not quite. Remember I was telling you about that arrow? It tells, see this sign, how small it is? It's only 2 inches by 4 inches. So I want to make this sign bigger. We'll go back to that arrow in a second. So what I want to do, since it's a small layout, I'm going to change the shape. I'm going to go to the size and check my uniform. So this size of the sign is 30 inches high. The length of this sign is 42 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and create that. So now I have the 30 by 42. Okay, now I'll go ahead and I'll bring my arrow over. And there's my arrow, and I'll just overlay it right where their arrow was. There we go. And I'll go ahead and get rid of their arrow. And now I have the California spec arrow in there. The envelope is the same. Since I created this out of a 2-inch thumbnail, basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to line these borders back up with my pattern here. You can see how they turn red on the edges. Like up here, you'll see it turn red. So now I'm set on these reference lines. So I'm not too sure. This is a 3-inch radius, and you might have a blank that has a 2.5 or whatever. So I'm not sure if by expanding this little thumb into a big thing that the radius is going to match up with mine. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get rid of the radius. I'm going to go ahead and put in a new one. Let me get rid of those borders. I'm going to go ahead and put in a new border. The height of that was 30, and length was 42. And I'm just going to go ahead and use the 3-inch radius, because that's what my blank is that I have that I'm going to be using as a 3-inch. So I'm going to click OK. Now I want to bring that radius or that blank back up onto those reference lines exactly where it was. You'll see the top turn red in a second. There we go. Now this spec sign is only 40 by 42 by 30, and they're showing a 3/4 inch border around it. So what I want to do is I'm going to trace that. Tools, outline, minus 0.750, and that'll give me my 3/4 inch radius around there. Now the outside of this sign is going to be white. Okay, the inside now is going to be green, and I want to bring that to the front. Okay, and now my envelope and my arrow are going to be arranged to the front, and they are white now. Oops, gotta make those white. So there's the arrow and the envelope, perfect position where it should be. Now the post office was also copied, so I'm not too sure if that font is going to be, you know, exactly the way it should be. And if I ever had to change the size of the sign or anything, the font wouldn't change with it because it was just copied. So I'm going to go ahead, set up my reference lines, and I'm going to get rid of the post office. And I'm going to type in 4-inch highway D. That's the size of the I need right here. So I'm just going to type in post office. So now I have the 4-inch series D letter of post office. And remember I set up those reference lines, but as you can see, they're not going to line up because I have to put the spacing in. So I'm going to go ahead and put the spacing in on those. So, and we'll go ahead and we're going to go ahead and line that back up with those reference lines that we had put in there. And I'm just shy a little bit on both sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just add another little gap in there, and that should get me exactly where I want to be. Good. Yep, there we go. Okay, so now I've got everything all set up. I've put in my California spec arrow. I've got the envelope. I've put in my new radius turns. I know they're okay and everything. So there's what my sign is going to look like when it's done. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to remove these reference lines. I'm pretty much done with those now. And I want to take my envelope and arrow and the post office and the green EC that I'm going to cut out, and I'm going to group all those together. So now when I go to print out this sign, I've actually followed all the specs that it has. I've got the California arrow in the where it's supposed to be. Everything is set up exactly where it should be. Now all I have to do is just click on the inside legend that I want to cut out, because this white part is actually your sign blank, and this is the EC film that I'm going to cut out. So I'm going to select it, and then however you have to send it off to your cutter, I just will go, it gives me the options. I could output the whole thing, which I don't need to cut out the outside of that. So I'm just going to output selected. And it's going to go ahead and set it up into the cutter. It takes a few seconds. There we go. So now all I have to do is just send this off to my cutter. If I just press the little cut button, it's going to cut all this out, and I'm ready to go. And then when I'm done with this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this sign when I'm done with everything, just by however your program has you set it, save it. I'll just click the little save icon, and away I go. And one thing I always do is I always save my signs when I'm done making the sign. So if I want to open up an older sign that I have in my files that I've saved, I'll show you one real quick. Like say my W's, my warning series sign. Here's my W1. W1 is a sharp turn, a warning sign to the, it could be left or right, but it's a very sharp turn. I'll show you what they look like. So here's what they look like. And here's what my sign will look like. Here's one of the legends. I have the left and the right, and I have this turned sideways, so it's just ready to go on the plotter. So basically what I usually do is I'll set up the borders and everything, and then if I need it, I'll just print out the legend. I'll print out a couple of them, and I save a lot of material and space. I've showed you in some other videos, but sometimes I'm pressed for time and I really need to just sign in an emergency, and I'll just go ahead and I can click it, file, and then I can just output selected, and it's going to send this right off to my cutter right away. See, and I can just go ahead and cut this out. I can add in my cut lines if I want. Usually I have preset cut lines in here. It's ready to go. So this basically will save me a lot of time when I go to lay out a sign, because I would the arrow and the post office and setting up the borders is no problem, but I would struggle putting in the envelope. So it's kind of a neat little way to save you a little time, little money. I know those programs are expensive, and it seems like they always, kind of like software, you know, oh, we got the new version, you know, the MUTCD just added 2 new signs, so now you got to buy a $600 program to add 2 signs in. So this way I'll kind of help everybody out a little bit. So okay, that's all I have. Share this nice little tip with you. Thanks for watching.